Honestly, Dr. Moore, it's just the presentation of the audit. So
okay. Well, good morning. I'm Mount Vernon. This is the Mount Vernon Industrial Development Agency meeting to receive the presentation for the audit. And so today, of course, is November 8th, 2023. Oh, today's night?
Yes.
Yes, it was 8. Okay. 2000, okay, November 9th. I'm sorry, I'm a day behind. 2023. So we're gonna call basically this meeting, yes, to order.
And I'll call the name.
Good.
Controller,
Present.
Commissioner,
Present.
the Corporation Counsel,
Present.
Ms. Saunders.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. There's one excuse for today.
We know that the mayor is traveling.
Yes.
She is not here today, or the chairwoman.
Correct. So at this time, Controller, we have one item on the agenda, which is the presentation of the draft audit. There will be no vote today. It's just merely a presentation. There will be a presentation of the final audit at the end of the month. If there's any questions that come from today, certainly they can share and we'll respond to them accordingly. So at this point in time, I'll ask Linda to make the presentation.
So good morning, everyone. I think yesterday afternoon, a draft was sent out that is, I'm going to call also a work in progress draft. Part of what was in there, what was those highlights in the draft that cover the management's discussion and analysis, which we got later yesterday afternoon. The draft also will, the final report will also include the implementation of GASB 87, which affects the IDA in that it has certain leases that will have to be recategorized. And we are in the process of getting the final pieces of information. Some of the documentation we're working with Raj to find. Some of it is not, I'm going to say, readily available. But so I wanted to put this draft in context. The audit opinion will be a clean opinion that the financial statements will be fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The report will be as I mentioned, reclassifying the lease income. So that change will be reflected in the final version. The findings that we will be including in the final version will be different than last year. You may recall that we gave two material weaknesses and 2 compliance findings. This year, we unfortunately will have to continue with a material weakness, but it will be slightly different in that there were significant audit adjustments that we had to make to the receivables and payables. And I can, when we finalize the report, forward copies of those adjustments for review, and if anyone has any questions. But we'll only have 1 material weakness. The 2 compliance findings, 1 has been satisfied that pertain to reporting 1099s. The agency did that. And we were provided with documentation for 2022. So the only finding will be that the Paris report wasn't filed timely. So in that respect, the overall report will be an improvement over the 2021 report. And if you like, I can go over more specifics in the draft report, but again, it will be, the lease payments will be reclassified into lease income and interest income to take into consideration the implied interest in the lease payments. So at this point, if you would like me to go over in the report in detail, I can do that. What would the board like me to do?
I think in detail makes a lot of sense, Linda.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the most important thing is that there's an improvement in the findings, I think, as far as the board is concerned. And hopefully, we're gonna go over the entries with Raj. We'll be able to manage how they should be handled, and some of these transactions should be handled in the future.
So the material weakness is what exactly for this report?
Okay, for this report is that we had to make significant adjustments to balance sheet. We had to adjust cash. We had to adjust the pilot receivable and pilot liability to the taxing authorities. We had to adjust the other receivables, and I think part of it was the way the billings and payments were posted. For example, all of the invoices for the pilot payments, they were properly invoiced, but they were posted to the wrong balance sheet account. And then when we received the payments, they were posted to a different balance sheet account, and they were not reconciled. So when we asked for a schedule of the outstanding pilot receivables at the end of the year, we didn't have that. We had to go in ourselves and prepare that reconciliation to see what the actual outstanding pilot receivables were. And at this point, in our report, we're showing them as 600,000. And the pilot liabilities, and part of it is because we don't pay out the liabilities for the second half of the year until the following year. So that number is always going to be much larger than your receivable. So that amount at the end of 2022 was $1.6 million. We had received the cash, but we hadn't paid it out as yet to the taxing authorities, which we did do in 2023. But those kind of entries, we had to make those sizable entries that would cause us to report a material weakness.
Okay, so all of the financials was reported in the system, but was categorized.
Miscategorized, basically, yes. And the fact that they weren't reconciled. So you wouldn't know at the end of the year who actually owed you per your accounting records. There might be other spreadsheets that were maintained off, I don't want to say off books, but when you looked at your accounting records, you could not tell from its face what was owed.
Okay.
Liabilities.
And the accounting staff, so now the accounting staff is aware of that and the right proper
We've been having
procedure.
discussion. Yes, we've had several discussions in the case of the cash entries while they were not material. Again, it was not knowing how to correct errors, and I advised him we could have a QuickBooks advisor in the firm help him with that to straighten out so it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And again, as I mentioned, the lease received, what ultimately you'll see is at least receivable on the books and a deferred revenue as a result of this GASB 87.
Yeah, GASB 87 is new requirement.
Yes, it's effective for this year, for 2022. Yes. And in some case, some of the leases that the agency has, while they're called leases, they're not an economic transaction. They're not a true economic transaction. There's a lease between the agency and the project, and a lease between the project and the agency, and the rent is $1. Those we will just disclose that they exist, but they don't have any financial impact. But there are 3 that you were receiving actual lease payments for, and those are the ones that we need to address. And one of them, we're having difficulty finding some of the background records. So you also notice that I tentatively dated the report for November 15th. Hope that I'm going to say that's tentative. Once we get all the information, we'll send out the representation letter, and give the final date on the report.
Yeah.
Would there be any other questions?
I just want to point something out. I went online to the APO website and I pulled out the 2018 audit, which, as you may recall, was before our time. There were, I'm counting 7 findings in the audit, and to go from that to where we are today is really,
Great achievement.
absolutely.
It's a significant improvement even from when we became involved in the agency. So thank you.
It's a slow process, but we're getting there. I mean, again, it didn't get here overnight, but it was a mammoth of a disaster that was inherited. So we are grateful that folks are working hard to kind of get it done.
Yeah, it's the lack of records when you first came on board is, a severe hindrance. So.
Yeah, no, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. So at this point, then I would just say when we come to present the final, we'll go over the report in detail.
Okay.
So just so the board is aware, we'll have our next meeting at the end of the month, I believe on the 30th or thereabouts. There'll be a audit committee meeting and also a board meeting where the final will be presented and then will be voted upon.
Okay.
There's no further business, controller.
Okay. So there's no further business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So John? Favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The opposition, there being none. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, Julie. Have a good one.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you. Bye.